another episode of Beers, Bourbon, Whiskey Podcast. Man, we got a special show today. It is episode 8, so this is the last episode of the season. Excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied. Last episode of the season. We got a special guest in the building today. We got Angry Principal in the building. He's off camera though, but he's here though. I got my man Bo holding it down.
I say.
And of course, it's your boy Q Lewis, and we are holding it down live from the 48205 today, man. Very special occasion, all right?
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about this on the first episode, all right, when we was talking about Jack Daniels. So we talked about, the slave who actually showed Jack Daniel how to distill whiskey, and here we have it. It's Uncle Nearest, all right? And we told you at the beginning of the first episode that we were going to round out the whole season with this lovely product here. And in case you didn't remember the first episode, make sure you do go back to eblockradio.com and check out all of the replays, all right? But now we're going to get back to Uncle Nearest. And also, again, today we have a special treat. We are going to actually rate all 8 of the whiskeys that we taste tested throughout the year. So that's going to be fun too. So thank you for joining us, right? Now also don't forget, if you are following the podcast, to make sure that you do subscribe to the YouTube page. The link is down at the bottom. And also to follow the hashtag Everyone Loves BBW. All right? Make sure you follow that. So let's get back to it. Uncle Nearest, right? So Bo, I know we talked about the history of it before, so give the people a little refresher on, who Uncle Nearest is.
Yeah, from very high level, again, Uncle Nearest is the slave that basically was loaned out to Jack Daniels to show him how to distill whiskey, how to make whiskey. Recipe, processes, all that good stuff, right? And then obviously Jack Daniels went on to become, an iconic American brand.
Exactly.
So this isn't from his family, but they definitely pay homage and respect to his family. A young lady by the name of Fawn Weaver.
Yes.
Kind of her.
Salute to Fawn Weaver.
Yeah, definitely salute to Fawn Weaver for her efforts and whatnot to bring this back out there and pay homage to his legacy. So, obviously that's not all the details, but from a very high level, that's kind of what this is all about.
For sure. And I think I mentioned this, at least I know I mention it every show, it seems like. We talk about just the lineage when it comes to liquors and that kind of thing, and especially whiskeys. But I think this is very important, not just for the family of the original distiller, but also for the black community. Just like I think yesterday we shared a column from, I think it was USA Today, was it?
About marketing bourbon to black folks. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and the crazy thing is, that's why I think that this show is so important, because there are plenty of us who actually indulge in bourbons and whiskeys,
right,
but it's like the marketing doesn't even touch that at all. So how crazy is that though? So the fact that it's not even marketed for us, but we still enjoy it. So I guess my question is, how do we tap into that? Like, do we tap into that, or are we just like because I feel like once they really figure out that we're really drinking bourbon and whiskey, then at that point we will be exploited in the marketing. So how do we jump on that though? By doing this show.
So Fall Weaver did.
Fall Weaver did, definitely.
The Black Bourbon Society,
yes,
organizations like that,
Salute to the Black Bourbon Society.
You and myself and Angry Principal and whoever else out there is doing a bourbon podcast.
For sure.
For black folks, just all kinds of different perspectives, man. So, if it's not there for us, just kind of like make our own way. You know what I mean?
Make our own lane.
The stereotype right now is that black people only drink cognac, so they're going to see dark liquor, but not necessarily bourbon. So now that we're actually stepping into the bourbon realm, people are starting to figure out, they do have different tastes, and now they're trying to market that way. So yeah, now is the time if you're going to take advantage of it, get involved.
Exactly. Definitely, exactly. That word spoken by a true connoisseur there.
Definitely that.
And just to piggyback on what you had said about, I think that I've said this plenty of times throughout the year on this podcast, and that was just about how drinking whiskey and bourbons is kind of like the golf course and kind of like cigar bars, where it puts you into like a different circle of people. And I know I say this a lot about possibly venturing into some of our white counterparts circles, but at the end of the day, I think this also gives us an opportunity to create our own circle. So like when I've said that all year, I don't want you to get it mistaken like this is a way to get out of the black circle. I think this is a chance for us to create our own black elite circle. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a way to say it. And just by having this whiskey, I think it's very important for us just so we have something to identify with. And this is a crazy notion, right? We're going to get into some stuff in a minute. But just the fact that you can actually grow up and utilize so many products and so many services without ever having any representation of yourself. How crazy is that, though, right? Like, I think we take that for granted. Because, like, white people, and, you know, not to put white people on blast, but we're putting white people on blast. And just to know that you're able to, anything that you want to do, you can find a white person who's done it. So, like, you can identify with something. Like, when you're black, though, it's like, we really have for
real, like the pioneers, like trailblazers, like for real.
That is crazy though. I mean, it's 2020. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. The fact that we can indulge in so many things and never see a representation of ourselves. Like that's I don't know. It's almost disheartening. I was gonna say amazing, but it's not amazing. It's disheartening. It's almost sickening, man. Like I don't even know what to say about that. But anyway, we'll get to that another day, maybe the next season. Also, don't forget, maybe around the middle of the episode, we're gonna break down our 8 liquors, and we're gonna tell you which ones that we like the most, which ones we like the least. We'll get some input from Angry Principal. Actually, we'll show him the list and see. He might want to create his own list on that point and see what's going on there. But you know what time it is now, though? Time to break open the Uncle Nearest. Yep, gotta go ahead and give it a little spank on the bottom. And so Angry Principal caresses the bottle. Caresses, gotta rub it.
Show a little love, right?
For sure. So in case this is your first time watching the Beers, Bourbon, Whiskey podcast, then you got to know that this is a hood tradition. By tapping the bottom of the bottle, it supposedly stops you from being sick after drinking too much. But at the end of the day, again, like I always say, I don't think it works because people still get sick after. Look at Angry Principal. He's pouring. He's pouring up.
That's a gentleman right there.
Yes, it's definitely a gentleman.
Gentleman right there.
So give it a little sip.
Most definitely.
See what it smells like. All right, I say.
I say.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Gentlemen.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Now, see, for us with a lighter, softer palate, I think this is definitely a great thing for me.
It's smooth, you know.
It's smooth.
Yes, sometimes I like that bourbon that's going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And right. Martin used to do. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But hey, I can get with this stuff.
Yeah, definitely like this. So Angry Principal, I see a lot of things going on.
I can see the thought circle above.
It's a lot of things going on, and unfortunately, you guys can't see Angry Principal, but he's there. And what's on your mind there when you first take a sip of that?
Man, that vanilla, that cinnamon, that spice, and that smooth as you can tell that they use with that charcoal filtering.
Yeah,
that's the difference. I'm not the biggest Jack fan, but knowing that this has a slightly different taste than Jack,
so you
can tell that they did use the same process, but it's definitely not the same recipe.
Definitely not the same.
And I think totally different. That spice is good too. Like it's not too much where it kind of shocks you, but it's just enough. Like, right. You still drinking this Tennessee whiskey though, boy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually like it, and as you'll learn in just a moment here, you'll see that it's ranked pretty high on my list. But also too, coming up, we've got some ginger beer. We got some ginger beer that we're going to mix with it and see what it tastes like. I'm not ready for it yet, though.
Yeah, I'm not showing folks. A little ginger beer. This is Reed's right here. Just straight up like Jamaicans. Like, you can go to Jamaica right now and buy this on the street. Like, good stuff right here.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to try that. I've actually never had ginger beer at all, so it's going to be pretty different. I love the taste of it by itself, though. So, I'm not even sure. Like, so, obviously, I guess you've had the ginger beer with...
Yeah, you know, like if I'm having, like Angry Prince was talking about, you know, you have the Moscow mules, you know, well, there's a Kentucky mule or a bourbon mule, you know, where, you know, you put a little ginger beer in it and whatnot. And something like this, you know, I'm doing it for the purposes of the show.
Right.
But like on a day-to-day basis, this is exactly how I'm drinking it right here, you know.
I almost don't want to, I want to taste it just to see what it tastes like. But I'm going to be honest with you right here. This is, unfortunately... aside from Coppercraft, this is definitely a go-to for me. And don't get me wrong. I will say that initially, I was drawn to it because of the backstory. I mean, obviously,
for sure.
As a black connoisseur, you definitely would figure that I would go this route because of the backstory. But the taste of it though, and Angry Principal, like he got something to say for real about it.
No, it's just that I'm looking at it and some things that I've been like when they talk about the legs when it rolls up against the glass, you can see it rolling down as viscous. That's what you want to see out of a liquor, so you're not getting that watered down mess. Yeah. And this is one of those that's actually got some quality to it.
Exactly.
You taste that cream when you first put it into your mouth, and then it rolls into those other flavors, and it's still lingering. It's not something that's just disappearing.
True.
It is a lingering taste that actually you kind of quite enjoy. I'm loving it even more. It's not the first time I've had it, but I'm even now that I'm really thinking about it, this is some good stuff.
It really is some good whiskey, and that's the thing though, and I think that's where I got things a little misconstrued before, because I think that initially when I tried some of the harsher things, again I got a softer palate, and some of the more ones with a little more bite, they do seem to hit you and then disappear. And I always thought that was a good thing. Like I always thought, like if it hit you and then disappear, that means it's pretty smooth. But just like he said, drinking this though, it does have like a quality. You know what I call it? A quality aftertaste. Because some whiskeys have a horrible aftertaste, especially scotches. Shout out to Buchanan for the worst aftertaste on earth. On earth, man, I'm never drinking that again, unless it's here. But one more sip here.
Unless it's here.
But yeah, now again, I mentioned this before, just about getting into certain circles while drinking whiskeys and bourbons, and push you into a different category. And I think it is important to kind of focus on our own category, so getting ourselves into a category. And when I think about things like that, I start thinking about the things that we aren't really included in, which is a lot of things in America, you know what I'm saying? But one of the things that I don't think is discussed often enough or intelligently enough amongst black people, not just bourbons and whiskeys, but politics, man. I think politics is one of those things that we don't discuss often enough, and I think that's why a lot of us are kind of left out to kind of sink or swim on certain situations. And I guess my question to both of you guys, though, at this point, just looking at the outside of politics, like how important is voting? Like, or do we even know how important voting is, like for black people?
I think we're gonna have three different opinions here, right? I think we're all gonna be similar. I think we're gonna have three different opinions.
Exactly.
First of all, I just wanted to say some black folks they just have so much apathy towards it, right? Just like, doesn't even involve me. I don't care about it. Right. Things gonna be messed up anyway.
Sure.
Things was like this under Bush. Things was like this under Clinton. Things was like this under Obama. This is how they gonna be. Mm-hmm. And then some folks feel some type of way about it, right?
Right.
So how important is voting, right? I think it's very important.
Okay.
I think it's more so important at the local level than your national level.
Right.
Is my opinion. And I also want to say this though, the last presidential election, and I caught a lot of flack for this, like from family, from friends, or whatever. I didn't vote for the actual president.
Okay.
And I didn't because I didn't believe in either candidate, right? And I believe that being in a country, so they say, like, that's as great as this, and it is. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we talk a lot of shit about the United States and whatnot.
But in comparison,
there's really no place else,
for sure,
that kind of holds a candle to it, but. In this country, you can tell me Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are my choices,
and they're the best choices.
I just can't get behind that, and I get it, right? If you don't vote, that's like a vote for the dude we got in office right now. Like I understand that argument, I totally get it. To me though, it's just I can't get behind. Like you look at the primaries, how it was basically snatched from at the time with Bernie Sanders when he was real hot then, right?
Right.
Especially in the state of Michigan. And just seeing how all those things play out, it just leads me to believe, like, hey, man, this is all preordained. This is how it's supposed to happen,
Yeah.
So, again, getting towards the apathy, my vote don't really mean nothing.
Right.
And not to say that if you believe in voting, you want to do that and you feel strongly about a candidate, go out and vote.
Right.
I chose not to at that time, and that's the reason why. Yeah. That was me, though.
So you got to think about it. Macomb County, which won the state for Trump, was a 30,000 vote difference. Mm-hmm. If 30,000 other people got up and voted for Hillary Clinton, most likely Donald Trump doesn't win Michigan. That's how close it was.
Right.
That's a blip in the number of people that actually voted. So is your vote important? Extremely important. If you don't get up and go vote and exercise your opinion, I understand you may not agree with the candidates, but think about it. You've got a man in the office right now that my 4-year-old niece can out-argue. That's bad. And so now we're in situations where lives are at stake because of some of the stupidity of what's going on. Now, you can believe what you want to about which side of the aisle you want to sit on, but right now there's stupidity in the office, and that's a far cry from what we had in our last president, and that's hard for me to look at and watch, and all people had to do is get up and go to the polls.
That's interesting, and I definitely see what you're saying about that, and I think I'm on the same side with Bo is saying, like, I think I agree with you in saying how important the vote is, but then when the candidates both suck, then I'm with him on that side. But I also see what you're saying from a different standpoint, and that's from a parent standpoint.
Right.
I think that a lot of people look at a lot of things differently when they consider their kids. I think when I'm in a situation where I don't consider, like, which is crazy, but I think it's easier to consider the future when you got kids of your own and shit. So by saying that, I just want to I think that a lot of people's voting perceptions will change after having a family. I think a lot of those things will change because this doesn't only affect you at this point. It really does affect your child though. Like, so for me, I think that, if I had some kids at the time, I would definitely try to have done anything I could have to make sure that Trump didn't get in office. Because even though Hillary was the lesser of two evils, like, I think it's gonna be a little easier for my kids to understand.
And see, but that's my issue. I'm tired of that.
Lesser of two evils. I know.
Like, that's exactly.
But beyond that, there are deeper repercussions to Trump being in office. Now, think about it. If those 30,000 votes had gone a different way, I can't remember the exact number.
Right.
If those 30,000 votes didn't went another way, all of those federal judge appointments that were blocked under President Obama and that have been pushed through under Trump would not happen right now.
Okay.
Right.
So if you're getting in legal trouble sometime, your child, your grandchild, sometime in the next 30 years, these are lifetime appointments that are now in office of people that have no business being, they're ambulance chasers that are now federal judges.
Right.
And they're being pushed through so fast that it's going to have repercussions on the black community, not now, but for 10, 20, 30 years down the line, unless you get new federal judges in there. And these are lifetime appointments. These are not things where you get voted out.
Yep.
You are in there forever. And since Trump has been in office, they've pushed through, 150, 200? I don't even know the number. But they've put down a lot of these federal judges that are going to shape the decisions that go on for this country for 30 years from here on out.
Now just listen to this whole conversation that we having, though. This is the conversation that's missing.
Right.
And this is what I'm saying, like, so I think not only is just voting in general, like, specifically important, but having these conversations intelligently, you know what I'm saying, it's something that's missing from the black community, though. Like, obviously, everybody not gonna have, the same level of, intelligence on stuff. And I know I don't, so that's why I always try to talk to people who know more about this stuff. But this is conversations that need to be had, though. And I think both of you guys have valid points. And I think I never really looked at it, honestly, to the way you mentioned it. I never really looked at it that way because I always felt like the judges at my state and county level were more important. But now when I look at it, though, the judges at that higher level are like, that's the Supreme Court. Like, that's going up to, that's where it's eventually going.
Like, they don't see everything, obviously.
Exactly.
The higher level stuff, I don't disagree with you at all, not at all from that standpoint. I guess the way that I looked at it, even when Obama was in office, and you looked at, there was, Republicans.
Nah, you gotta say President Obama. You can say Trump. You can just say Trump.
But you gotta say President.
You gotta say President Obama.
Right.
Sorry about that. That's just a sticker.
President Obama. I didn't agree with everything he said either. But
no, I didn't agree with everything. But he was an actual president.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I will say this, like, so the Senate, and House, Republican at the time and things like that. And I look back, and this is only one case, right? And I'm not saying this is the norm. I can't remember his first name, but it would have been Justice Garland, and how they just kind of, the Republicans, I say, and I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, I'm a registered independent. I've got a whole lot of views about whatever. Anyway,
Yeah,
but Mr. Garland was
breaking them up in parties. Don't really.
Yeah, he was essentially just like dismissed. Yeah. Got totally qualified. Got who highly intelligent. Mm-hmm. I thought would have been a great justice. Right. And like on some bipartisan type stuff, it's just no, we don't want to do with that. Obama rolled that's his candidate. So when I see that, and I see that the type of federal thing is going, at that level. Yes, when you break it down into the numbers of 30,000 votes and like the biggest scheme of things, like you said, that's not really a whole lot. Just I question again: how does my vote matter in that? Right? They were going to do that regardless of how I voted. That's how I kind of saw that. And that's just one instance. That's not everything. And I'm not saying that. The other thing, I guess, is where you want to talk Republican and Democrat, right? We get so. I'm not so much just like, Democrats been pandering us for a long time. For a long time. Oh, yeah, no doubt. What's going on? And I'm not saying go vote Republican because that's definitely not going to happen with me, right?
Right.
What I'm saying, and again, in this country, as great as we make it out to be, and they tell us it is and whatnot,
right?
We want to see a black agenda, right?
Right.
So, sure. I mean, why are we still relying on Republican, Democrat? And then when a viable or a third party, candidate comes in, may not have much steam at first, but kind of something that they're talking about, right? Why not at least pay them some attention? Right. Try to learn about them a little bit. We automatically dismiss them, right? Yeah. And I'm not everybody, but on the most part, on the majority.
Majority, yeah, for sure.
One last thing too, so. Yeah, if people say it's your civic duty to vote, and it may or may not be that, however you believe in it. I just want to say that just because you voted, and I know people like this, and that's why I'm bringing this up. Just because you voted doesn't necessarily mean that you're changing society for the better, right? There's people out there that don't vote, and they do all kinds of things in society and community every day, right?
And there's people that do vote
community every
that don't
day.
do shit in that community.
And it's not black and white, right? People do both, and I get that. But what I'm saying before, I had some family members that vilified me for not voting for the presidency, right?
Yeah.
And before you vilify that person like that, look at what they do outside the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look what they do on their weekend and after they get off of work and stuff like that, right?
Right.
How are they helping the community, if at all? I volunteer. I do things around veterans, Boys and Girls Club. 100 Black Men, things like that.
For sure.
That may have a bigger. Effect than if I go and cast that vote for Hillary Clinton. And even though she won a popular vote in the electoral, that's
a whole other situation, right?
Oh, that makes sense. That's essentially telling me that this old white dude out in Montana, his vote matters more than mine, right?
Exactly.
But anyway, whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna calm down. No, that's kind of. It's a tricky thing, man.
It is a tricky thing, but I think that it's important to have these uncomfortable, tricky conversations. I think that the fact that you're willing to stand on, what you believe in, even though the family is vilifying.
They still let me have it too.
Yeah.
See what you did. See what you did.
And
I'm not the one doing it.
And that's the thing, though. I think that it's really bad when it comes down to the lesser of two evils. It's just really bad. And I did vote, for Hillary Clinton, and I voted out of that fear of Donald Trump being president. I strictly off of that. I didn't vote on it off of her policies. I didn't vote for it off of her record. I didn't vote for it because of what I thought she was going to do for us and shit. I didn't. I voted purely off of the fear of having Trump as president. And that's bad. But that's bad, though.
I'm not even going to say it's bad. I understand that.
It is.
Because that's a valid point.
But I feel like if you vote, though, it can't be voting off of emotion. Right. Okay. It's got to be voted off of some facts, and I did not.
So let me wrap this into our actual Uncle Nearest that we're drinking.
Okay, good.
All right, so
we got away.
I got to circle around.
We got away.
Yeah. So Jack Daniels never denied the fact that he learned how to distill liquor from Nearest.
Right.
He made sure that everybody knew he learned his craft from Uncle Nearest. Mm-hmm. All right. But as the company goes on over the years and is bought by another company, and I wish I could remember the name, they pretty much ignored the history of Uncle Nearest being a part of all this. Whereas the actual person, Jack Daniels' name, the person whose name is on that liquor, Jack Daniels, said, no, I learned it from this person. Yeah. They pretty much washed him out of the history books for this particular product.
Right.
Now, my fear, and those 30,000 votes are the reason that a lot of President Obama's legacy is being washed away by the Trump administration trying to figure out how to wipe this man off the map. Now, you had the smartest guy in the room. The smartest guy in the room was President Obama. They could not figure out how to beat him.
Right.
And he said, I'm not even the smartest person in my family.
Right.
Do you realize how scary that is to those people that quote unquote call themselves to be in power and happen to be of a different color?
Right.
That was scary to them. So getting him in office was a big deal. You know, when the smartest guy in the room tells you he's not even the smartest guy in his family, that's deep. Yeah. That puts some real fear in some people. And those 30,000 people from Wayne County or Macomb County or Oakland County that did not go and vote are the reason we have such a difference in the way the country is going right now. Yeah. That's my problem with people not voting. Now, if you want to vote for Trump, that's on you. Yeah. So to wrap this back into Uncle Nearest, at one point, Jack Daniels never denied the fact that he learned his craft from Uncle Nearest.
Right.
He acknowledged it. He put it out there. He was the first master distiller for the country. Well, first acknowledged master distiller.
Right.
So even though you had some older brands of bourbon, to call somebody a master distiller, the one person that's in charge of your entire batch of liquor that's coming out, of bourbons or Tennessee whiskey or whatever it is, you know, Uncle Nearest was that first guy. But once the company was bought by other people, they tried to kind of wash Uncle Nearest out of the picture for Jack Daniels,
which happens all the time.
Right. Well, and that's the danger of not voting, is because now you see Trump actually trying to erase everything that President Obama did during his administration. Now, all those people in Kentucky and Tennessee and Arkansas that are taking advantage of the Affordable Health Care Act, you know, they're still trying to whitewash what President Obama did. He put something in there that helped everybody.
Man.
And now they're trying to whitewash, even though they weren't successful, they were still trying to wash all that stuff out of the system.
Right.
And that's something that you don't want to have. And those 30,000 people that didn't vote in Macomb County or didn't vote in Wayne or Oakland caused this to happen. If Trump doesn't win Michigan, the whole election is different. Right. Now you're down to a constitutional crisis like you had with Bush and Gore.
Gore, right?
You know, because you've got those electoral college points in play, and that was a big deal. Those 30,000 people made a huge difference. So that's where I say you have to vote.
So this was my question that I was gonna ask to both of y'all, piggybacking off of that and piggybacking off of what you said, Bo. It's like, what do you think? So whitewashing, like all of President Obama's accomplishments and the things he had put in place. Do you think it's more scary for the white 1% or the people in power of a single black person with that kind of power, or the whole nation of black people realizing the power that we actually have? Because for the most part, I think that it's not a person that's feared. It's the what's the word? It's the potential of power that we could have. It's like it's the idea of power. I don't think it's an actual person or an actual movement, but I think it's just the idea of power that's most frightening.
See, I agree and disagree with you, right? Yeah, the idea of power, I get that.
Yeah.
But I think it is the actual person, because to get that power, to action on it, right? You have to have someone that is charismatic, that is intelligent, when that can bridge, two different groups. So even though we're black people, we're like we talked about before, even though we're black, we're different.
We're different, yeah, definitely.
That can bridge two different groups of people together, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is that person, at least initially, right?
Yeah.
When you get a leader like a Malcolm X or Marcus Garvey or someone like that, right? I do want to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
When you're talking about whitewashing, Obama's legacy and things like that, and you totally see that happen. I guess the thing that kind of upsets me too, and one of the things I'm bitter about, is I wanted, and one thing that stood out to me is you say Obama did this for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm selfish. I wanted him to do something for us, and us only, right?
Exactly.
And what makes me so mad, and I get mad about it, but I understand it at the same time, is I see Trump doing that for these old white nationalists.
For sure.
And just doing it brazenly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a white dude, but he just do it.
Yeah.
Y'all deal with the shit.
He told you, do the tax break, I'm making all of you a bunch richer.
So
a whole lot richer.
We talked about a little bit. This was either last week or maybe off camera. I can't remember, but just the way Trump handles things now, like honestly, I wish that President Obama had took these same actions on his way out. I understand that he may have been fearful of being shut down and things of that nature, but once you get to the point where you know you can't run again, why not? That was my only problem. And I know we shouldn't probably think like that, but at the end of the day, I do at some point. I want the government, I want the laws to represent me. Like at some point, I want it to feel like, yes, we got a black president. Honestly, I love President Obama, but I never felt like, wow, we got a president. And I know that's selfish. I know it's probably silly to think that we was gonna get a black president and then all was gonna be well for black people. But at the same time, like, it's just like with Cory Booker, right? I was a Cory Booker fan. I say was because it was past tense. I was a Cory Booker fan before he ran for president. When he started running for president, and I guess the powers that be intimidated him, and he knew that certain things he couldn't say or do anymore. Like I literally seen him backslide in so much shit.
Is that and like when people are on it, and that's what I was talking about, like people just expanding, like I guess who they're willing to support and vote for or whatever, you know. Because when Cory Booker, when he was initially on like the local level, grassroots level and whatnot, that's when we really should support him tough, right?
Yeah.
Then he gets to this national level where it takes that dough really to get in office, you know what I mean?
It does.
And then, like, if you don't have that dough, you got to do certain things to get it.
Yeah.
And then when you do certain things to get it, you got to pay them people back. And them people don't always want to be paid back in money.
Right.
You know, they want certain things,
and
right?
Then you end up alienating your core, though.
So you got to remember that President Obama played the long game. He was the smartest guy in the room, and he told you he wasn't even the smartest guy in his house.
Yeah.
So when he walks out of office, he can't do the Luther and just go off. He's got to actually set it up so that. Even though we wanted President Obama to go out on some Luther stuff, he couldn't because he got to set the table for Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and Castillo and all these Castro and all these other guys who want to come in and Yang, anybody of color that wants to come in and actually do something.
Dropped out.
Right, Castro dropped out recently,
which is a decent thing though. Yang, I think, is a decent.
Yang,
I gotta do some more. I gotta do some more research.
And listening to him on a couple podcasts, I like Yang.
Yeah.
I think some of the ideas he have are too pie in the sky for some of our poorer white voters to understand that they would benefit from it because they can only hear what Fox News tells them.
Right.
They're locked into what Fox News tells them, which benefits the rich, and they're thinking that trickle down economics is still going to work for them. That doesn't work. We've already proved it hasn't worked for almost 30 years, but they're still locked in it, and they can't get past anything that Fox News tells you. If Sean Hannity tells you something, remember, Sean Hannity is making $30 million a year.
Right.
His economic situation is different from somebody in Lynchburg, Tennessee making, $10,000 a year. So he's going to tell you some things that you're going to believe because he's a great salesman, but at the same time, it doesn't benefit you in any way.
Right.
Or
somebody in these Midwestern towns who really think that the coal mines are coming back.
And that's it. Right. These Midwestern towns. So out of all places in this country, all regions, Andrew Yang makes the most sense for the Midwest. And I say that because of this, right? He's telling you right now, we're in the middle of an industrial revolution. AI, artificial intelligence, taking over everything.
Man, if you don't...
It's pricing everybody out for their jobs.
Stay there for 1 second. If you're watching this podcast and you don't understand that we're undergoing industrial revolution, then you already in trouble. Like, you already in trouble. If you don't understand that everything is moving from industry over to AI, if you don't understand that at this point, and you got to understand that means that all of these manual labor things are going to be gone. Like, if you don't know how to do stuff with this AI, or to either be in control of it, learn how to fix it, or know how to make it, you are going to be in trouble. No matter what politician tells you what industry they bringing back to your area, it's not going to happen.
No, because that's no.
All right, so I just want to stay there for a second. Now we can keep going.
I give you even something that breaks down to real life. Right now, I'm trying to help my son choose a college. He's a junior. He's got to start thinking about it. We're looking at all these HBCUs, trying to decide where he needs to go.
Right.
Every engineer that I've talked to, because he wants to go into engineering, electrical engineering. He wants the actual practical side where you're designing components. Okay.
Gotcha.
I love the fact that he wants to do that. But every single engineer that I've talked to have all said the same thing. go into computer science, go into IT. You have to deal with that part before you even get to the engineering side. And that's been the advice I've received from every single engineer that went in and got their electrical engineer, mechanical, industrial, whatever engineering degree. They've all told me, go into IT. We just saw a dude at a Costco the other day that I went to school with. He was my mentor when I was a freshman at Tuskegee. He literally told me, I'm in IT. He left electrical engineering to go over to IT.
You know, and that resonates with me totally. And maybe that's why I'm not saying go vote for engineering for president. I'm not saying that all right. I'm saying the dude brings up a brilliant point that more people need to listen to.
Definitely research and check into it.
Yeah, I work in that industry. I work for like the industry leader in that field pretty much, right? And like I see it every day. You know, it's happening. It's going on right now. I see these folks in computer science, in networking, in IT, in cybersecurity, in data analytics that we're hiring out of college at $100,000. You know, and have no job experience because that's where it's headed.
That's where it's going.
You know,
exactly.
And like you said, you work in your little coal mine or whatever. Blah blah
it's
blah.
Not coming back.
Hey, renewable energy is real. Like this wind and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Coal and oil, fossil fuels. It's money in that. But it's not on the upswing.
It's definitely on the upswing. Yeah, so it's definitely not.
Which may be a reason why they're trying to start this little war going on.
Hey, I told you the tried and true formula. Hey. When you down in the polls, start a war.
All right, so before we get into any more politics, we are going to add a little bit of the ginger beer. Now, I've never actually had ginger beer, so I've never had it by itself or with a whiskey. So we're going to give that a shot. I'm going to drop me a couple of drops in there just to see what it's like.
Too much.
Not too much.
Disclaimer: I do not propose this. I just don't touch
this for show.
Not with the Uncle because this is a really good bourbon whiskey by itself. Yeah, just for the show, we're going to mix it up. If
I was going to put ginger beer in something, right? So Buffalo Trace is like my everyday go to. Like I spend $25 on a bottle of Buffalo Trace, and you know if I don't feel like drinking it neat, then I might throw some ginger beer or ice or a splash of water or something like that in there. But something like this is no.
The most you get out of an Uncle Nearest is one ice cube and that's it. And you just that one little splash of water just to dilute it just slightly, just to get the other flavors out of it. But this is not the type of alcohol that you would touch. You're supposed to have this neat and call it a day.
It doesn't taste bad, but I would definitely not recommend blending this only because it really is delicious. I can't think of another way to say it. Like it's fucking delicious, dog.
So it's straight.
If you're making the Moscow Mule, you gotta add lime juice.
Get lime juice
to make your Moscow Mule.
Whatnot, okay.
So the ginger beer and lime juice is what you would do for the Moscow Mule.
Yeah. All right. So look, this is what we're going to do really quickly. Obviously, we're going to be getting out of here soon. So thank everyone for hanging out with us today and enjoying Uncle Nearest with us. Hopefully, you've poured up your own glass so you can drink along with us. If you've never had Uncle Nearest, I definitely suggest that you do try this. I know a lot of the whiskeys and bourbons that we try, sometimes I tell you like it tastes good, or there's a certain palate that you should probably have because there's some whiskeys and bourbons that I would say wouldn't be go-tos for your first time. Like definitely, I don't think that. Like, let me see, what was the one that I like? Russell Reserve. I don't think is it's not a first time go to.
Strong.
Like with the Uncle Nearest, I think you could be a novice. You could have been drinking cognac yesterday, and you can venture over to this. And I do say cognac because I lived the cognac life for quite some time.
But please don't shot it. No shots.
Oh no, okay? No shot. You gotta drink it. You gotta drink it just like this.
I got a flashback at the club. You know, maybe a triple shot of Hennessy. You know. No shots. Okay.
He said a triple shot.
Triple shot.
All right, so look, this is the last show of the year, so we got to talk about the other whiskeys and bourbons that we had. So I've got a list of the 8. All right, so just in case you weren't familiar, we did. Well, I won't read mine because I'm gonna read in order. So let's just go through our list. This is our top 8 list. So ranking from number 8 up to number 1. This is my list. All right. This is my list, right? So, ranking from number 8 to 1. So, 8 being the least and 1 being the most favorite, which obviously I think you'll know which one is going to be the most favorite. But in my list, number 8 is going to be Glenfiddich. All right, Glenfiddich is a Scotch, and I don't think it's actually the brand. A single malt Scotch. Now, I don't think it's the actual brand of Scotch that I don't like. I think it's just Scotch. I think I just don't like Scotch. So it could have been any brand. I did hear that
I'm spending too much time on number 8.
I know, but I did want to say this. I just want to say that I did hear that the Johnny Walker was better. So that's all I want to say about Scotch.
But Johnny Walker's blended, though.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a single malt.
That must be why. All right, so number 7 is Jack Daniels. All right. Number 6, Russell Reserve. Number 5 is Four Roses. Number 4, which would have been higher other than our discrepancy with the culture of the owners of the distillery, but Copper Craft. All right. Number 3 is the Jameson, or JMO as we call it in the hood, which is Irish whiskey. Number 2 is Buffalo Trace, and number 1, of course, is Uncle Nearest. So that's my list of 8. And I'm gonna see what Bo said. I'm gonna see if anything is similar.
We're not totally different.
Yeah. Cause I know we got totally different palates though.
So at number 8, I got Glenfiddich. Number 7, I got Jack. 6, I have Russell's Reserve.
Okay.
At 5, I have Jameson.
Okay.
I left number 4 blank. I'm just gonna vote Coppercraft. I'm gonna vote Coppercraft present. All right. Tulsi Gabbard, instead of voting for impeachment, she voted present. So I'm going to vote present. So don't vote for Tulsi Gabbard. That's my opinion.
In case you don't understand the DeVos connection. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, the DeVos is on Coppercraft. Number 3, Four Roses. Number 2, Buffalo Trace, and number 1, Uncle Nearest. Out of the bourbons and the whiskeys that we've done this season. So.
Yeah, definitely Uncle Nearest is definitely number 1. Angry Principal hasn't been around for the whole season, but he's got a list as well. So
we got to talk him back. Got to talk him into coming back for.
Yeah, definitely got to talk him coming back for sure. Definitely. Hey, look, if you're watching this episode right now, make sure you comment below and let us know if you want us to have Angry Principal back on the show, man. Because definitely
he's coming back.
He definitely better be back for next season, all right? But what you got for us?
All right, so I'm not a big Irish whiskey fan, so Jameson does come in number 8.
Okay.
Number 7 is Coppercraft, and as Chappelle said, my blackness will not allow me to do X, Y, and Z. So I have to. Once I found out who owns Coppercraft, I had to let it go. Even though I did enjoy it. It has now become the one that I'll have to mix in with stuff to get rid of.
But it's still better than Jameson.
It's better than Jameson. But Coppercraft would no longer be on the list of things to do just because of who owns it. So I got it. Like I said, Chappelle said it. My blackness won't let me do it.
It's so good, though.
It is good, but I found out who owned it. I can't support who owns it. So that's all there is to that.
Do I gotta unfollow them on Instagram?
Yeah.
Anyway,
pretty much.
Right.
So number 6 is Jack Daniels. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Jack fan, but I love his Uncle Nearest. Number 5, Glenfiddich. If you do the Glenfiddich 12 that's finished in bourbon barrels, that's some really good Scotch. Okay. I'm not the biggest Scotch fan, but that one is very, very good. Number 4, I went with Russell Reserve, and I have been following along with the podcast, and I've been drinking everything that they've been recommending. So yeah, I'm a true fan. Number 3 is the Four Roses. That's an everyday sipper if you need to. Number 2 would be the Buffalo Trace. Once again, an everyday sipper, along with my favorites would be Woodford and Eagle Rare.
Oh, yeah.
But then the number 1 right now, number 1 right now is the Uncle Nearest. I've been a fan for since they came out. Once I heard the backstory, then it wound up being a quality product. So that's what I'm going with.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely, and I agree. I think that's the whole thing. The backstory drew me to it.
Yeah.
But then it's actually good. Like, don't you hate that though? When like a story hip you to something and then you try it and it's trash, like the Popeye's chicken sandwich. Like the Popeye's chicken sandwich. I had one, and I'm not gonna say that it's trash, but it's definitely not worth all the hype. So I'm glad to know that the Uncle Nearest really was worth all the hype, man. So look, we gonna wrap it up. I don't want to get too far into politics because I know it is political season though, and some things actually.
The Michigan primaries are in March.
Yeah,
like right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Vote.
Definitely got to vote there. But before we got out of here, I did want to just mention because you know the things that just transpired internationally. So if you're not familiar with what's going on, basically. And Iran and Iraqi, right? Both of them, right?
Yeah, an Iraqi militia that was backed and financed by the government of Iran.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. And they actually, apparently, like supposedly, I'm not even sure how.
According to the Trump administration.
According to the Trump administration, did wage an attack on U.S. embassy over there. So in retaliation, there were some high-ranking officials. I don't want to say murdered. I'll say
assassinated.
Assassinated. Yeah, we'll use that word. By an American airstrike, and I think we're in a position now.
I'm sorry, or as Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, or whatever he said, a threat has been removed. That's his exact words. A threat has been removed.
I don't know where that's going to leave us at this point, but I do know that at some point, as black people, and I know that we're trying to protect our culture and figure out where we belong in America, but at the same time, I think that some situations warrant our attention. Like, I think at some point, we do have to see a little bit of what's going on internationally. And I only mention this really quickly, like I said, we're not going to stay on it, but I made a post on Facebook yesterday, like right after this, right after the event happened, and I was just kind of curious about, a lot of the details. And then while asking those questions, I just realized, like, you know what? Maybe me myself, and just as black people in general, maybe we do need to be a little more concerned with international affairs. And you may not have to know everything that's going on, like you might not know every detail, but I think it is important to at least stay abreast of some of the information so that we know that what things might affect us. And this is politically anyway what we're talking about. But the scary thing about it is that this is the scary thing about any information. The more you learn, like, the scarier this world is. Like, it's just like the more you learn, the more facts, the more information you get. It's just like, not only is it scary, but it's inexplainable though. Like, some stuff just happened that you just can't explain it. Humanity is just a weird thing, bro. It just really is.
I mean, I really don't know what to say about the whole deal. Like,
right, that's my
thing. So
yeah,
the dude they assassinated, like, he's a bad dude. He was an evil dude, right? Like, right. The world's probably a better place now that he's not here, right? I can't say that. Like, and that's also the thing that kind of makes me mad to say that, right? Because now these Trump followers are like, see, I told you he don't take no shit and blah, blah, blah. And like, yes, they should have retaliated because U.S. Embassy was attacked. Like,
right.
I with rocks
that.
And Molotov cocktails,
right.
Not drone strikes. Man.
There's a level, exactly.
You want to shoot off 1 or 2 bullets, fine.
Right. There's a level of retaliation.
But a bunch of guys with rocks and Molotov cocktails, come on, and they got the guard tower. That's it.
And the only, I don't want to say the only thing, but when it comes down to it, man, like, yeah, they should have retaliated with an appropriate level, like Anger Principle says. But we need to leave people alone. Let them get out of their sovereign, matters and whatnot. A lot of, somebody trying to commit genocide on whoever or whatnot, which is really what it seemed like we were doing at times. Like, we're bombing some of these goddamn people, right?
True.
But, I don't want to say isolationist, but, like, sometimes you just got to mind your own damn business. You know what I mean?
Simple as that.
Take care of your people at home,
For sure. And that's definitely something that's not happening. Take it from black people.
It's frustrating to watch the old formula of start a war, get extra votes, go into play right now and do it on the first day of the year. That's frustrating to watch.
Said the same things about Obama at this time. Oh, he's going to start a war with Iran to get reelected and blah, blah, blah.
And all he did was get a peace treaty and get the Iranians to actually follow and do what they were supposed to do.
Exactly.
And then the Trump administration came by and
pulled out of
washed out of what was happening. So, you put yourself in a bad situation and you're making it worse. And now you've got an entire region of people upset at you because you bombed some people who
may or may not deserved it.
Threw a Molotov cocktail and some rocks.
Exactly.
Some people too, like a group of like 20.
Yeah.
Out of all the people that are out there, right? It's the movie that kind of jumps. If you never seen it, The Rules of Engagement.
Yeah.
Check it out with Samuel Jackson and what's my man from The Fugitive? The white dude.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
No. Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Jones. Yeah. Why could I not think his name?
I couldn't do it either.
Yeah.
Watch The Rules of Engagement. Like it's not totally like that, but from a group of folks that really, there's really no threat to you, right? You have to react in some way because yes, they did attack you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to drop.
No, they protested against you. That's it. They protested. They didn't attack you. They protested.
Gotta remember, I'm former military, so I say attack. If you shoot or throw anything, you attack.
Right?
but that does not justify flying a drone that no one sees and no one hears anything like that, and all of a sudden the bomb just blows up, whatever. and it's precision and blah blah blah, there's always collateral damage.
Right.
Always. Sure. I don't care what the government says. There's always collateral damage. So,
man, on that note, though, I don't want to talk about politics anymore. We're going to talk about drinking. But no, we're going to actually finish this bottle of Uncle Nearest.
That bottle done.
Yeah, that bottle done. I did want to
it's
say...
It's not going to make it tonight.
No, it's definitely not going to make it. I did want to say this was a great season, man. I want to thank everyone who checked us out from episode 1 all the way up to episode 8. And if you haven't watched us, and this is the first time watching us, make sure that you go to eblockradio.com and watch episodes 1 through 8, and we will be back for season 2. Don't forget too, though, if you've got comments and you want us to try certain bourbons or whiskeys, make sure you just put them in the comments underneath this video, and you can actually we'll actually do those next season, which will probably be in about maybe a couple weeks.
Q said he even getting the bottle of Pappy.
Oh, so about that, let me call you right back. I think we gonna have to. No, you know what? We need somebody to gift us some Pappy Van Winkle. We need somebody to gift us that. We'll definitely take that as a gift. But make sure that you do follow us on IG. That's gonna be Beers, Bourbon, Whiskey. Also, the same thing on Facebook. And follow myself at Hood Howard Stern, and then follow my man Big Sebo 94. Both of those on Instagram, man. So make sure you check us out and get ready for season 2 coming up pretty soon. And we're gonna go ahead and devour this number 1 whiskey, which we all rated as number 1, and that's Uncle Nearest. And also too, don't forget that there's some other versions of Uncle Nearest.
Almost definitely, yeah.
We'll explore those in season 2, so make sure you stay tuned. But till the next time, man, you already know what it is. The Beers, Bourbon, Whiskey podcast, man. Everybody loves BBW. I got my man Angry. I'm about to say Angry Man. Got Angry Principal in the building.
Support your HBCUs.
For sure, man. My man Bo holding it down.
Ashe.
And of course, it's your boy Q Lewis, man, holding it down live from the 48205, man. Salute.